live and in living color, right? All right, here again. I haven't been here for about a week. I think it's a week. Definitely have to get about it and do some more. Just been very busy um, dealing with some stuff and some different kinds of matters, personal, family matters. So, but been keeping my head to the grindstone of what's happening. We do, as you know, here we do a lot of spiritual stuff. We do it. I mean, this channel is for them who understand esoteric and know the difference between SO and XO. Um, and if you're coming here to get some indoctrination methods, you won't find it here. This channel is for them who break exoteric knowledge. I mean, exoteric, not into it, doctrine and dogma. But for those of you who are here and have been here for a long time, yes, I'm back. I'm going live. We're roughly close to 7 o'clock p.m. Sunday night, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, and 8 Mountain, roughly close to that right now. I think we're around probably really close to the 59-minute, going to the next to 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock. So I got a good one today. This is very much needed because it makes me look at things and know that when we start looking at history, we start looking at these statements that we hear in the education system. We start accumulating our knowledge. We start seeing beyond the props and the gangas that go with the props and the outright connection of stuff. There's a lot of knowledge being thrown at us besides what we see, even confessions of things that we were not privy to and nobody would ever say is happening. Everything from sex tapes to who's involved in child trafficking and the ideology that we kind of know them who are in power actually are. And then we start seeing that we've been kind of lied to. We look at in every aspect. We look at the education system, which is really miseducation, programming centers, um, the common ground of the sexes being into a place where things that were natural are no longer natural. Um, and then the result has been talked about, and many people say it's prophecy. I'm beginning to see. For me, it's not really prophecy anymore. It's more um, breaking codes. And when you see the codes loop and repeat themselves. And thank you, anybody that's here. I have a feeling I know one person is definitely here. Is the codes, and you start learning to read codes will help you learn to read history. And then these codes are running on scripts. And then we get these holy books, and they're called scriptures, actually codes. And this is really everything that's running as I'm looking at this and really looking at this world, right? How when I look at every aspect of it, then I measure it against things in the past. And then we're told history does what? Always kind of repeats itself. We're told that. So we believe that because we're created beings. See, our subconscious doesn't recognize if something's truth or not. And if you keep telling yourself that things are a lie when they're truth, your subconscious doesn't recognize, hey, that's truth and that. That's not what discerns it. That's your conscious, but your subconscious didn't. That's why you can actually hijack yourself or be hijacked, which means programmed to be something for somebody else to use to get their point across or their creation across in this plane of existence we live in, this holographic reality where you're a creator. And many people in this world don't know it. I've been talking to people recently and I realized they don't have a clue. I went into a medical establishment and they're advertising something we're being told everywhere wasn't good for us, and it actually is getting rid of people, and it's still on sale. That's nutso. that shows me the reality we live in. Like I've said many times, just because somebody tells you the truth doesn't mean they're on your team. And you might ask, let me grab some water real quick, because I know I'm going in. I got a lot to share. I do. Let me grab my water. It's over behind here. I'm sure you can still hear my voice. I hope you can. I'll be right back. I'm here now because I know I'll need some agua fresca. In the Mason bottle, glass, not plastic. I have younger people sharing with me these awesome videos that are seeing things clearly in certain aspects, where a young man learns to take plastic, which I feel is unnecessarily poison, but it's everywhere. And then we see our oceans are filled with it. The marine life's getting wrapped up into it and suffering with eating plastic, being wrapped around it. All these things that go against nature. But he was able to take the plastic and make energy. Very smart young man. And I believe my son told me that recently he's been missing. See, when somebody comes up with some real creative ideas, but it bypasses the plans of those who have used us to make the plans, and it doesn't fill their whole hum, even though it's light years, because hydrogen and this stuff runs way past better than the electricity system they're trying to push on. I'm going to go ahead and say it, because behind me it says uncensored, because that's what we do here. But then I look at this stuff and I realize this place, and then heavily into Gnosticism last 6-7 months, really deep dive, coming from at one time a Christian esoterica, but then really hit Gnosticism, bought the books, really deep dived, and so much of it makes sense of this reality. When I hear scriptures as I went into death and the grave and death and hell to take the keys of life. Is this place? Just being honest, we know it's a low, dense place. Those who run it aren't exactly upright. We have things like greed, power, pretendingism, saying you're something you're not, pretending, giving us a bunch of religion. And this has been just not recently, that is recently, but it goes back way far, to make the masses believe things that are not so they don't know the things that really what this place is, or the reality, or many things that may have lived. How about a mermaid? Were they livable things that happen that are real? How about what is in Ireland? Ireland, they have the short people living in the small people living in the forest, right? Leprechauns. Are these actually legitimate stuff that we've been told fairy tales? But many things hid from us. An ice wall that you can't go past this. Canada's actually telling people in Nova Scotia, if you go hiking, you're getting fined $25,000, telling you can't go into nature. And this is where we're going. And then this is what we must be aware of, what's happening now and soon, because it's happening around us, real around us, close around us. Just because somebody says they're not against it and they're in a position of power, they don't go against what their masters really have planned. They can fake the funk. They can be all good actors. But we're going to talk about something that is happening. Digital ID. And you might say, what is digital ID? Almost like it's anything that's digital that holds all your information in. Well, Europe is just told. They're people. See, we're not being told what's happening in Europe right now. Europe is blowing out. And what I mean by that, right, it's happening with Europe right now. They're in a civil war in aspects. You have the ones because just like America, hey, the Democrats open the border and Trump goes in and closes it. This was not the only place it happened. This was planned, and it happened in other places. The game plan is the leftists all did it. And now we're looked at as the other side is coming to be the savior or Captain Save-A-Ho, if I can use that. They're the saviors. But what if it was just like a movie, a script, like I said earlier, scripture, where you have Batman and Robin, but you also got to have the Joker and you got to have Penguin, because that's what makes the world the stage. You got to make the bad guy to have the good guy. I'm a very lifelong wrestling fan, and I understand in the wrestling space that when you have good villains, that makes it better. It doubles down on the baby face or the so-called good guy when one's painted as a good guy. Well, in Europe, they realize who the bad guys are. We are looking at still a left versus right, pushing an agenda of almost a civil war, black versus white. Yeah, that's being pushed. I know I'm going all over the place, but there's a point I'm getting to with this digital. I go back and look at my Morals and Dogma book dealing with Albert Pike, right? Albert Pike's got during the Antifa, Albert Pike had his statues pushed down, destroyed. Remember, all these relics of America were pushed down and destroyed during these times of is it Agenda 201? There's still people don't even know about Agenda 201. That thinks the viddy vid and the voody vood and the jabby jooby jab were just like, it happened and we need it, and not realizing that the ones telling you about this is the very ones I know are the ones that anytime they tell me something, I give them that because I'm discerning, because I know which he is. Almost like with Jesus saying to in the scripture, what does Jesus say to the Pharisees and Sadducees? You're of your father, the blankety blank. Because if you would have known me, means that we would have the same father. But obviously you don't know me because you're not connected to me, taking it deeper than just this. And then when you start looking at this, I have a lot of Instagram. I told you before, Instagram's jumping off, and I got a short 20-minute video with somebody who's making a lot of videos on this. Get ready, because some of this stuff can be very, very alarming, because this has been told by 2026 that the Europeans need digital ID. They've been told this. But watch what just happened when you didn't get it in Vietnam, the digital ID. This just happened here within the last 2 weeks, when people did not get their digital ID. What? I don't hear it. Why don't I hear this? Here we go. Let's see why. Let's listen to this. Do you guys hear this? Okay, it's
have had the bank accounts closed or frozen, bringing many question marks about what it was really all about, where the money's gone, and many question marks about the control. And of course, highlights again how the old digital ID may work for you, dependent in which the country in which you reside. Of course, very, very, very much dependent on that. It's nearly 100 million, in fact, bank accounts of non-compliant citizens who refused the biometric digital ID have had the bank accounts closed or frozen, bringing many question marks about what it was really all about, where the money's gone, and many question marks about the control. And of course, highlights again how the old digital ID may work for you, dependent in which the country in which you reside.
My background went off. So you hear it right away. We jumped right into it, 15-minute mark or right around that. Vietnam. those who did not comply with the digital ID their accounts were wiped out, 86 million, because they didn't do what they were told to do by their fair, loving government. Oh, yeah. So they didn't do what they were asked to do. And then without any taking them to court, without any compliance, without any blame, without anything like that that had to do with legalities, they just took it. Took it. Do you hear me? Took it. Do you remember during the big thing of what happened with the truckers going to deliver in Canada, and then Canada wiped out without suing them or doing anything legal, just wiped out their accounts, wiped them out, blocked them. They could not use their cards and travel. They could not use their cards. They could not use their banking system. Just totally shut it down. And what happened with that? Nothing. So here we are in Vietnam, same premises. Notice that. Here in the West, and especially the USA, well, I got a constitution. They couldn't do it to us. But they did. They told many people that if you didn't get big space needle shoved in you, notice the space needle is in this town where the guy that's like, if you know who I mean, Gates is from, has the biggest needle in the world, in the city that he supposedly lives and is from. But we were told that many people got threatened. Many people didn't get threatened. They got fired for not getting something that they were told they needed to do to work. Then when it was all said and done, we find out everything they said, from it wouldn't spread, all verifiable. If you have any common sense, knows it was lies. One right after another, which many here are like, this is unconstitutional, illegal in the US. But through this aspect of this digital ID, which we're going to see some more stories and some more plans, and the overall take of what this is connected to and do and does. That's why in Europe, with the crossing of the border and the other side of course, of another Abrahamic religion, the Arabic side of it, crossed the border, went to Europe, and are doing whatever they want, while the natives get locked up for talking about them breaking laws. And I mean laws, just not things, well, that's okay, it's a law, but it really doesn't matter. No, I'm talking about some serious physical hurts, physical pain, things done to people, and they're just walking away. And the ones when they talk about it on social media like this, guess what happens? They go to jail. This is happening to what we call the natives of Europe right now. The ones who are from there, live there, and are there. Actually, Ireland and some of the UK are pushing and coming together in the name of Christianity against the Muslims, and are actually burning down 5D towers, actually have went and destroyed Muslim shops, actually have did this because it's creating what I even mentioned 6-7 months ago from Archaics, brought this out superbly, is the Christian Reich to go against this, which I didn't say right, I said Reich, to go against this, because this is actually in Morals and Dogma. What I'm saying is actually in the book. We will use communism to destroy Christianity, almost, but not really totally destroy it. Then it will be brought back for our purpose again, and this would be the purpose. But this also goes with the control of what this idea is. So if you look up and do some research, I didn't share any of those videos, the Europeans are having these big, they're over there protest. They're not protesting about ICE and about the left and right. They're protesting all the government's fraud, and they're not supporting us. Notice Europeans have seen bad government. Their history is they've dealt with kings and queens who many people here say, oh, the kings and queens are good. No, they're not. They've always been horrible to people. The royal families are horrible to people and have been forever. And many people say, that's the queen. Who's queen? Not looking out for the best for you. When has kings and queens ever looked out for the regular people? They never do. When you start looking at a lot of this happening, it's like climaxing. It's coming to a climax, almost like this is all lining up. And we better be on our P's and Q's on what side and who you choose and what you're going to do and decisions you're going to make. And I'm being real about this. This isn't just lightweight stuff that's happening. Let me share another Instagram. Notice this. Benefits of digital ID. Thought police. 24/7 surveillance because safety never sleeps. Notice in all your guys' city now, you got a camera at every stoplight. They're all over. They're at every businesses. They're hidden. Biometric monitoring your pulse is your business. A social credit score, be a good citizen. And the total surveillance and monitoring is going on in Asia now by the biometric system, meaning you're going to have a digital ID. You're not going to pull out your ID out of your wallet, hence, right? And go, it will be on your phone. It will contain all your information and it will be open for anybody who wants to get in your information. They can get in it. In this third part, the social credit, be a good citizen, is actually the monitorization. If you don't be a good citizen according to their rules, applying to a communist country, a country with power that ain't necessarily, which they all are, as far as I know how this world works. Many of us do. Is, say you're talking to you and somebody's talking to you and they check their credit and they go, I'm catching a bus, going, whoa, I can't get on the bus. It's not letting me. And the reason is because you've lost social credit score, happening instantly because you're being surveillanced and you have this phone with everything on it, given to every power that be in the world. So you can't travel and use this bus because you're talking to this cat, me maybe, that talks about how bad and corrupt our government is. So since you talked to the guy, we're going to ding you and you can't go on your vacation. You can't go to this grocery store today. You have to go to a lower level. What if this is pushed into even buying groceries, that if you don't get one, you're buying groceries? So let me read a few of this. No chocolate, you're borderline diabetic. So pre-approved thoughts, it says. And of course, that may not be the best thing to do if you're having these issues, but really your freedom is if you want to go ahead and eat it all, and you can. I mean, we would think so. I mean, that's not necessarily good decisions, but you have the right to do bad decisions as long as it's not hurting somebody else. You drank too much last night, no public access, automatic shopping, we already took it out from your account. Freedom points, redeemable by government approved freedoms. The last ones that you want in your freedom. And let's being honest, folks, the last one you want in your freedoms. Let's go back to the screen. So when you look at this, I watched a video I'm going to share in a little bit. It's a short video. Definitely will share his name and that. He has a very good channel. He's talking about a lot of this for a while. I actually got this from Brother Sanchez, this guy, this gentleman. video, and I was like, well, that's a good video. And it's only 20 minutes, but he unpacks a lot, gets right to the point. It's in 20 minutes for foundation, and gives you the yay and nay and what you really got to look, and gives you some things that have happened and how it's happened to certain people, because it's happening in, he has some videos actually we're sharing. It's happening in Asia, China specifically, where they're going in and they're not allowed to get on a bus. They're not allowed to get in a train because their credit score, and they're like scratching their head. It's not letting me travel. By this system where everything's locked in ID. I remember back a few years ago, going on 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago for me, the brink of a lot of people diving into digital coins, right? Going, yeah, digital coins. Awesome. This is a way you beat that freaking fiat system. We're going to kill it. It's going to be righteous. And this is the way you get out of the system of the matrix. They're the ones that created it for the next level. It goes with the digital. It even, when you start looking at the digital connection and the WEF, the CDC, all those had a big hand in our daily life during 2020 and after. And then the bad thing for us as individuals, especially when they're not awake, they're sleepy, and nobody can wake up until they're done sleeping. That's the sad part of it. The reality part of it is you can only do for you, and a lot of these areas are people you know who are similar, is there's people who have no clue and will do everything, even though it's in front of them, not to do it. Will believe everything they're told, obedient, walk the walk of you do what they say because they're looking out the best for you. And you know that. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And a lot of people just obeyed and stayed in. Some took it and woke up, because a lot of people did have an awakening or a change right through this process. Woke up. But too many people listened and just followed and didn't question really what was happening at all. Did not question anything happening. So we just seen what was said with Vietnam. I mean, to snatch their money without suing them, without going through a process, just like we take it because it's ours. And that's, for me, that's freaking thievery. So you can thieve as long as you have the power. This is not something that's new. Let's be honest. But it's going to the next level, following in the scriptures of book of Revelations, right? The script. Again, that book is not a Christian book. It's a very older book, and they just adopted it. Rome and the canonized adopted it and put their stuff in it to make it appear. But the foundation of it is really a little different when you go into the Greek and bypass that it's not from Rome. It's not necessarily from the canonized versions of, and if you don't know that all reads Rome yet, and you're still there's a lot of people still in the religion, and 2,000 years later, you don't know what it is. That's real, folks. Those knowers out there, you gnosis out there, you revelating people out there who have waken up. Yeah, it's facts. People are still believing in something that definitely has no power. I'm looking at something. Okay. Let's see. Let's look at another Instagram. I need to scroll up because I'm sure he's off.
Who announced in the UK about their digital ID.
Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
I don't know if you can get any more arrogant and pompous with that British accent than he is, but he definitely was a little bit more stern and subdued. Didn't have that pep in his step, like maybe, you know, after taking a line or two with Macron on the train. Yeah. You know, he didn't have the white powder this time, but he has the power to implement that all across the UK, and the UK will be feeling it very soon, very harsh. Digital ID is not in the US yet, but it is almost inevitable that it will come at some point. And so it will have to be mass non-compliance. You will have to create your own networks of people. You will have to try to be, you know, off grid if you can. Digital ID, that is the net. That is the trap for enslavement of the people. You will have to think the way they want you to think. You will have to say what they want you to say. George Orwell warned us all about this. Yes. Read 1984. All right. This is Big Brother, big time. You step out of line of whatever regime is in power, you're shut down. They'll shut down your bank account. They will shut down your online access. You won't be able to buy or sell. Sound familiar?
That's what happened. What he just said is what happened in Vietnam. They just snatched their assets without suing them, without anything. Just it's ours, and you putzes don't matter. It's really the sand's being drawn the line. This guy that was talking, that he so good went in on him. Appreciate this man. Is Stammer. That's his name. I call him. You know, I've already got a nickname for him. I looked at him, heard Stammer. That's his last name. I said, "That's Scammer. Take the T out and add a C," and he's exactly what he is. Yeah. Definitely happening.
It is being implemented in different countries: Estonia, Denmark, India, Singapore, Sweden, Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Germany. Now the UK. It'll eventually come for us. It will come here. The enslavement of the population, this is not hyperbole. When they have full control digitally of everything that you are and that you can do online, they will shut you down when you step out of line. Goodbye freedom of speech. Goodbye freedom of movement. If they pass a law that says you can only have so much meat a week, goodbye ability to buy what you want at the grocery store. This is serious. This isn't doomsday. Oh, the sky is falling. No, this is real. This is happening. This will come to us very soon. Pay attention. Digital ID.
So what he's talking about is real. Let me turn on another light. It got dark in here, didn't it? See if this is too dark. Better? I'm not sure it's better, but anyways, I got two lights in here. I got a light by me, but he ain't jiving. What he's saying is true. That's why I really been focused and looking and sharing, because we need to be really real with ourselves, because this is going into a system, the beast, that we many Christians and that I always looked at it as a book of metaphorical revelation of the awakening of the coming of Christ is within you, which it is. But of course, the hijackers want to make it literal to control because think about this, create a straw man at one time when the people don't know what a straw man is, that it's not really you, and you're part of the money system, because actually your every number that's associated with you is a trust of money that's actually you, but you're used as a straw man. It's really not you. This is digital is taking the straw man to a whole different level, where they're going to physically, what he said, not hyperbole. This is real stuff, folks. Real stuff. The setting up of stuff, and it really hit me was because being kind of who we are, and if you notice that even within our medical system, RFK saying a lot of stuff, or JFK saying a lot of stuff, right? Or RFK Jr. And some of it is like, yeah, that's good. Don't let them people getting food stamps buy sodas and that sweet stuff that causes diabetes. They shouldn't buy that. And many would agree with that. They would say, yeah, they should be more healthy food. But what he said is that a prerequisite showing you when we tell you that what you have to do later down the road? Do you hear me? Are you listening to what I'm saying and hearing? When the left and the right are non-existent, there's no such thing. It's an illusion. They're actors working in a coherence together where one side does one thing and one side does the other stuff. The left, who really did a hijacking in the 60s through the great, the welfare system, the decay and destroying the nuclear family, in definitely starting with the Black community, was horrible. Because now you look at it and you see 60% divorce rates, but if it does one, it will go to everybody else, because that's how energy works. Now we see a lack of children being birthed, and then we were told that we want less population, and it's like, this wasn't just some freaking jabby jab. This was done already in the process, using it through the process of systems, even programs and systems, meaning programs, right? Programs. When you look at all the programs to so-called help people, are really agencies, because they're the agencies they try to tell you in the Matrix or Mr. and Mrs. Smith. These agents are agencies. And they already had started the process of depopulation through food, through medicine, and all this. That's why Billy Boy Gates can sit up there and smile. And we were able to see that and still see that video, and still people are still believing. I mean, the programming on the individuals on this level is really thick. Even on us who have woken up, we're still trying to get rid of programming. But this digital ID is the giving up, would be the gaining of full power. What constitution? How can you have a constitution when it's not a country? It's a corporation. We're going from a corporation into a digital, with corporations still connected to it. Corporate enslavement, Rome, all that, corporation, cement, death, to digital. I know I got something here that I could show you guys just to make a little point. We would call this a coin or money, right? I can handle it. I can take it and purchase something. When you own digital money, it's just ether. There's nothing you hold. There's nothing you have. So really, do you have anything? Do you really have anything? When greed is your measuring point of pushing your agenda, because really love is not you're looking for. You can care less about people. You don't care if you sacrifice them in a shootout at a school and kill a bunch of children, or even do fake stuff that looks like somebody was even shot, assassinated, and it was nothing but Hollywood prop. This is all stuff that can happen and has happened. Let's look at another Instagram video. It's getting really real. Here we go.
How we work, how we live. In the agricultural age, the economy.
This is Klaus Schwab. This is the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and this is the whatever spokesman, whoever he is, power plant. Do your homework. You find out what bloodline he comes from. Love. peace, not in his heart. All these are very easy to discern. They don't care anything about us as people or anything. They got agendas. And watch this. It says Agenda 2030, digital ID, synthetic food, surveillance cities. That's all their plan. Notice they've talked about smart cities already with the burning down here of Southern California. I'll get right back to this. Of the Palisades, they already have, when you look into the website of LA City or LA and their building, they already have the architects for building a smart city. I believe they're going to want that smart city done by the 2028 Olympics, if they're still here, to show the world, look how we rebuilt LA with a smart city, which to me is a dumb city. It's not smart.
Was mainly based on agricultural products. In the industrial age, industrial products and services, more and more sophisticated. But now in this new age, the base will be knowledge, data, and intelligent insights. What does it mean for governments? Governments have to be enablers of this change at lightning speed. They have to provide the necessary infrastructure. And they have particularly to cooperate with business. Because this transition into this new intelligent age will only be mastered if all stakeholders of global society work together. What we have to expect, according to the research of my organization, is that 50% of jobs will be directly or indirectly affected already in the next.
Think about what he just told you. He already told you, and you see the big layoffs have already happened. Places are shutting down. Jobs are going away, folks. The replacement is AI for a lot of these jobs. They already have cars that drive on their own, driverless cars. And he's saying it. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He sounds intelligent. Taoist devil is what all I'm going to say about this guy. Many of you who know him and what he's all about and what he does. And the WE, if you don't know about the WEF, you should go look at them, because some of the stuff's straight out. The 2030 agenda is what they're looking at for the world. Gates and somebody on this job, I didn't video, but I've seen the on Instagram are saying that we need to be totally into this new ID digital by 2028. And if you don't, you're not going to participate in the system. That's what's being told to us.
5 to 10 years by this revolution. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are living in the transition to a new time, which will change everything. It will change how we communicate, how we work, how we live. In the agricultural age, the economy.
That's good. But yeah, this is one Klaus Schwab. Old Klaus Schwab telling you the way it's going to go down. He's being very nice and being like, oh, look at Klaus Schwab. He's this guy. Yeah, discern him, know him, and go look him up. Go if you have never looked up and don't know a thing about Klaus Schwab and the WEF, the World League. These countries are all on board with this stuff. That's why I believe, and if you start looking at these countries are all in cahoots with each other, with what they do. These countries' leaders have more in common with each other. Call them elite. Call them, I like Sarah Caldy calls them the powers that were. Or the powers that shouldn't be, is they are trying to form and mold it to go down. And because they're such planners, you guys think that all this technology is like, look at this new technology. Yeah, this one, that is way behind, if not 20 or 40, 50 years behind. You're not in the club. George Carlin told us a long time ago, you're not in the club. They even tell you in your own Bible that you get the breadcrumbs off the master's table, and in that book, the masters are them. You're getting that. The reach out is that I want to get people to get their attention. What's happening? They're worried so much about the left and right, and of course, you hit them with jobs and not having money. They go into flight or fight, survival mode. They're not going to think of higher consciousness and breaking out. When you're told you can't eat, you're going to take it because you need to eat. And then they'll give you some benefits. So you do take it and you go, oh, yeah. But also comes with it, we're going to see in this last video, is some of the stuff that comes with it in another way. We read the little chart that said, hey, you're totally, this is the Hunger Games and all these movies roll into one. Demolition Man. All this stuff. There's an interesting movie made in 70 or 69. God, what's the name of it? I just remember Colossus something, a very interesting movie that in 1970 didn't do great, but it foretold of all this back then. Very interesting. I just had seen the movie and found it on Roku. And when I found it on Roku, it's on with the movies and something channel. If you're on a Roku, just kind of look it up. You can get it for free. Very interesting movie that will go down with some of the stuff happening, where you can see that the foretelling's been going on for a long time. Even some of those older songs were telling you about that when you start decoding them. A lot of the stuff that was coming out in the 60s and 70s was telling you about this. And now we're able to see, and a lot of the stuff has been really done in front of us, but we've had eyes wide shut. We're not discerning. We're not seeing with our spiritual eye. We're only seeing the little bit we can see with the physical. We don't see the invisible with our physical, but we can feel the wind, right? We know we breathe invisible air. Very much shaking things up to know, because he already announced, you've seen this has happened in UK. UK's raising hell on the levels. The people are banding together in the streets. We're not seeing it on the nightly news here. You have to do some research to find it. You can find it on different platforms, but it's not going to be on NBC, NBC, CNN. They're not going to tell you about it because they're not going to tell you what's going on there. But there's this guy with this channel called Stellify, and I've corresponded with him. And then he, as corresponding with him, he shares videos on his channel and also in his Patreon, telling you what's going on there. He's getting ready to have one on this exactly about them fighting the powers there. So I got one more video I want to share. This is a 20-minute, so it is a little longer. But this goes heavily into what I'm talking about and really makes sense of it. Let's look at it, and and also let me get my glasses because his last name's kind of different. On his channel, we'll see it. His name is Andre Jek. I may be pronouncing that way wrong. Go follow him. He's got 2.81 million subscribers, but he talks about a lot of this stuff. Financially, what's happening with the AI and crises that we're not told every day about it because we're just kept into a certain blind spot, right? So
long term, this is going to change the way we all live our lives. And I'm talking about digital ID.
This government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
Now, it might sound like it has nothing to do with economics or finance, and maybe it sounds boring, but the truth is, this is one of the most important changes that governments are pushing right now, and it's happening almost everywhere at the exact same time. In the US, at least 25 states have already launched digital driver's license programs. That means you can now pull out your phone instead of your wallet when you check into a flight, for example. And in Europe, they passed a law last year that makes it a requirement for all member countries to roll out a national digital ID wallet by 2026. In China, they just launched their version this summer, which links it to their social credit system. Countries like South Korea, Singapore, Nigeria, the United Arab Emirates are already doing this with their digital IDs. Now, you might have heard of digital IDs before, but I don't think most people really understand what it is because it's not being debated or talked about in Congress. It's not really trending on CNBC, and most people probably don't even realize that this is actually happening. But what's interesting though is that the United Nations has made it one of their goals, quote, legal identity for all by 2030. And the people funding it, of course, the World Economic Forum and the World Bank. And now Europe and the US are writing all of this into law. In just the last decade, the number of national digital ID programs have doubled. Today, over 100 countries either have one or are building one right now. And when I first thought about it, at least on paper, it sounds kind of nice. It promises to cut down on fraud and make travel easier, and it onboards about 1 billion people who don't have any legal ID. But once you look into how much power this will give the governments of the world, you're going to be shocked. Once your entire identity is digital, whoever controls that ID can control a lot of power. And I don't think RFK Jr. is exaggerating when he said that this is turnkey totalitarianism.
It lays the groundwork for global medical surveillance of every human being.
So in today's video, I want to help explain exactly what this is, how it's going to work, how it's going to tie into our financial lives, and what you should be prepared for. So with that said, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well, cover the finance, and stay for digital IDs. So before I get into the details of how governments are planning to roll this out, let me first explain what a digital ID actually is, because I think when most people hear that, they just imagine it's a picture of your driver's license saved to your phone. And it kind of is that, but it's also a lot more than that. So a digital ID is a secure electronic form of ID that verifies who you are. Usually it's built on top of an app on your phone, and inside that app is all your personal information, which is then verified by a trusted authority like a company or a government. But there is a big difference between the physical version and the digital one, because digital IDs use something called biometric data, which are things like your facial recognition or fingerprints, with cryptographic encryption, so they're a lot harder to fake. And once you've been verified, that ID becomes reusable. That means you don't have to keep handing over your passport or your license to different companies, or even go to the DMV. You can just share that specific piece of information that they need. So for example, if a bar needs to know that you're over 21, the app could just say, yes, this person is old enough without necessarily revealing your exact details, your birthday, or your full ID number. So on paper, it sounds like a convenient thing to have. It's more secure, there's less information floating around, so less chance for fraud. But as you're about to find out, you're going to realize that when you centralize that much power, the question becomes, what can they do with it? Because while governments and tech companies present this as a convenient and secure thing to have, the actual way it's already being used in some countries is a very different story.
We're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Take China, for example. Just this summer, they launched their national digital ID app. But instead of it just being an upgrade from physical to digital, they tied it to their social credit system.
There you go.
That means their digital ID is not just proof of who they are, but it's also connected to things like their financial history, travel rights, and even their online activity. So what that means is, if the government doesn't like what they're doing, or doesn't like what they're saying online, or maybe what they're buying, they could restrict your ability to travel, to buy those things, or to access certain social services.
After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realised when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from travelling.
If you didn't get a vaccine that the government mandated,
come on now.
Sorry, you can't use public transportation.
They would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account.
There were reports of elderly people and workers who were denied food and pensions because their fingerprint scanners stopped working. So if the system doesn't recognize you, you don't get food. That's kind of crazy.
And I have to pass facial recognition identity verification, which is insane because all I want to do is just spend my gift card balance on this debit card.
These are real-world examples of how powerful and dangerous this can be when your whole identity is digital.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
The #1 food for regular BMs, huh? Okay, let's see.
And this is just scratching the surface. Before I tell you how these systems can really be abused, what I found really interesting is just how fast they're putting these systems into place. Like, I don't remember anyone having this debate or even talking about it, and when they do, coverage is sometimes different depending on where you look. And that's why I use the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. It's a platform I actually used while researching this story, and Ground News pulled together 316 different articles on this headline. Starmer backs. What stands out to me is that even when both sides agree something is a big deal, it's still not getting a lot of attention. So that's the value in seeing the full picture. And if you want to step outside the echo chamber and really understand what's going on, go to ground.news/JIC or click the link down below. You'll get 40% off the same Vantage plan I use, and you'll be supporting independent journalism and helping my channel out. But the point is, the system's already here, and it's being rolled out country by country. So in the European Union, for example, they already passed something called eIDAS 2.0, which is a law that basically makes it a requirement for all countries in the European Union to offer a national digital ID wallet by 2026. So in just about a year or two, every single person in Europe will have access to one government-backed app that can log you into your bank and pay your taxes. And it's being sold as kind of a universal login for life in Europe. In the UK, for example, their Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, he wants to make these digital IDs a mandatory requirement for everyone.
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working.
Now, here in the United States, we don't have one national system yet, but we're getting a lot closer. At least 25 states already have mobile driver's licenses, and 20 others are working on them. And even tech companies like Uber and Amazon are starting to accept them.
Because you're anonymous online, it can be worse. I do think over time, with things like deep fakes, most of the time you're online, you're going to want to be in an environment where the people are truly identified. That is, they're connected to a real world identity that you trust, instead of just people saying whatever they want.
And I think that really shows you how fast this could change from being this optional thing to everyone needing this because it's a law. Now, under the previous administration, under President Biden, they already issued an executive order for federal adoption. There's also other countries that are somewhere in between, like Singapore, for example, has something called SingPass, which is already being used by more than 4.5 million people. South Korea also launched a new app this year, and it's completely replaced their physical cards for banking. Nigeria is rolling out their own, and we also have the UAE with something called the UAE Pass, and that's connected to over 5,000 services, everything from signing legal documents to paying utilities. So you have to ask yourself, why is all of this happening now? Like, why are governments pushing to do this right now? And here's what they say they want out of it. If you ask the governments or the United Nations or even the UK why they're doing this, you're obviously not going to hear them say control, surveillance, right? But what they will tell you is that digital IDs are all about convenience, security, and inclusion. It's about fighting illegal immigration, right? So let me for a moment take the opposing view and the government's point of view and try to sell you on why this is a good thing, even though ultimately we're going to see how it's actually being used, which is not good. So the first benefit is obviously
I'll get right back to him, but think about what he just said. for illegal aliens, but you let them in because you wanted to hurry this process also. This was part of the process to hurry this up. You can start seeing the game is right in front of us.
We see fraud prevention, because identity theft costs billions every year, and paper documents are really easy to fake. A digital ID uses things like encryption and biometrics, which in theory makes it a lot harder to steal and create fakes of. There's also an element of inclusion, because right now there's almost 1 billion people in the world that don't have any legal ID at all. And without an ID, they can't open a bank account, they can't vote, they can't access certain government benefits. And it's also efficient. Governments say that this is going to save them time and money by cutting out paperwork. That means no more waiting in line at the DMV, no more mailing forms. Just log in with your ID and you're done. Estonia, for example, handles 99% of public services completely digitally, and they say it saves them around 2% of GDP every year. And then there's something called interoperability. The European Union says that once their wallet is live, you'll be able to travel across all the countries, pay taxes, and even rent a bike with the same app. So that is the official explanation of why governments want it. A kind of universal passport for the digital world, right? The United Nations has called it the key to, quote, sustainable development, because it's supposed to bring everyone into this system.
There's your one world order. It makes sense with AI, the internet. It's not really about one person.
So on the surface, I think it sounds completely innocent, but the reality is that it's anything but that, because once you start to really think about it, the same features that makes it all convenient are also the same features that will be abused for power. And here's exactly why we should be extremely concerned. Once you centralize identity into one system, yes, you do make it easier for people to prove who they are, but you also make it easier for governments and corporations and special interests to track and control people. We've already seen governments weaponize financial access against their own citizens, and you're going to see this happen in 3 specific areas: government power, corporate power, and surveillance. So the first example, government power. If you remember in 2022, during the Freedom Convoy protests in Canada, the government used emergency powers and ordered banks to freeze accounts linked to protesters. They targeted regular people who donated money through GoFundMe. And overnight, citizens were locked out of their own savings. There was no trials, there were no court rulings, no one was convicted of any wrongdoing. It was just because they supported the wrong cause. There was also Georgia earlier this year, where Amnesty International reported that the government froze the bank accounts of NGOs and lawyers who were providing legal aid to protesters. And their crime was offering support to people exercising their right to protest. So with the click of a button, the government just silenced people by cutting off access to their money. And under existing anti-money laundering laws, this is super easy to justify because banks are required to freeze or flag accounts that they suspect have unusual activity.
Yes.
But what counts as unusual activity, and who gets to decide that?
Who makes a decision?
That could mean transferring money to buy Bitcoin. It could mean donating to a protest movement. It could even mean participating in the boycott of a company that the government wants to protect.
Yes.
None of this has to be proven illegal in court. As long as they have suspicion, that is enough. And that's a very scary thing. Now, the second place you're going to see this power is corporate power. Again, Amazon and Uber and other companies are already experimenting with digital IDs.
Wow.
But once it becomes the standard, it will stop being just identification. It will become what some people call a super cookie, right? Like, think about how a website uses cookies to track your browsing and sell you ads, right? But now apply that across your entire identity. That opens the door to something called dynamic pricing. And that's a shareholder's dream, by the way. Here's how it's going to work. Think about how airports charge us like $20 for a sandwich or a bottle of water. Why? Because they know you're trapped. You're not going to leave the airport, get an Uber, and eat somewhere else, and then come back through security. You are stuck. that is a very simple form of dynamic pricing. But imagine if that logic gets supercharged by digital IDs. Let's say your ID app shows that you just got off a 10-hour flight, right? The system knows where you've been, it knows your wallet balance, it knows you're hungry. So the algorithm decides, that person is stressed and they will probably pay more. And then boom, your sandwich is $25 instead of $12. But the person next to you might pay less just because that system thinks they're more price sensitive. They can tolerate $15, but not $1 more. Ticketmaster, for example, already uses dynamic pricing, where the same ticket can jump in price minute by minute based purely on demand. Now imagine, though, if your digital ID shows you've searched for, Taylor Swift tickets 5 times this week. The algorithm knows you are more likely to pay more, so your price gets pushed higher than someone else's. Airlines already do this. Or think about car insurance. Right now, companies use broad categories, right? But with digital ID, they could see your exact driving history, your Uber ride logs, where you hang out, all based on its ability to digitally track exactly where you are and where you've been. And you don't get to negotiate any of this because the system already knows too much about you. That's the corporate power risk. And then, of course, there's one more. The third place this power will show up in is surveillance and security.
Come on now.
Some digital driver's license apps in the US already have what's called a phone home feature. That means every time you use your ID at a bar, at an airport, or a hotel, it pings a government database. So now, instead of just being a harmless ID, the government now has a time-stamped log of everywhere you go and everything you do in real time. If you add in central bank digital currencies on top of all that, which are already being tested, as well as an API that companies can pay to access, and it's not really that hard to imagine a programmable like money that is tied to your biometrics. That gives the government the ability to program dollars that maybe stop working at certain stores for certain purchases, or even dollars that expire after a certain date. It's all up to their discretion. But it gets worse when you consider data breaches. India's Aadhaar system, for example, which is the biggest digital ID program in the world, has already had multiple leaks. Sensitive information from 1 billion people, including biometrics, was exposed. But here's the problem. Once your fingerprint or your facial scan or your iris is leaked or it's sold, you can't reset it like a password. It doesn't work that way. If the system is trying to protect us from fraud or illegal immigration, then the current system that we have today should be working, but it's not. So an extra layer of this identification is going to do very little to stop it.
Why do you think that them having to have a digital ID would stop that problem when right now people are meant to have a national insurance number and card, and if they're not asked for that, a boss is willing already to break the rules? What's the difference going to be?
It's exactly right. If they're not willing to ask for their current credentials, what makes them think a digital ID will do anything to change that? And he didn't really have a good answer for that because there is no good answer.
Yes.
So if we allow this to happen, I think it's going to fundamentally change the balance of power between people, governments, and corporations, and not for the better, unfortunately. But yes, it will be more convenient for people, as long as you don't get out of line or say something someone doesn't like.
All that digital ID will be is a means of controlling the population, of telling us what we can and can't do, of fining the innocent. And didn't we see it all when we had the pandemic, when you had to have vaccine ID to travel, to do various things? Did that stop the COVID pandemic spreading? Did it help? All it did was put cost and inconvenience on everybody else. I also worry about massive data banks being held by the government, being hacked by foreign governments, by private companies, by criminals. I do not see a single benefit to the government having digital ID other than them controlling what we do, what we spend, and where we go.
It's a crazy world we live out there, and I swear the older I get, the more I'm starting to become like that one crazy paranoid uncle. And I know how all of this sounds, and I get how it sounds like fear-mongering, but As they say, only the paranoid survive. But I'd love to hear what you think about this new system. Is it good? Is it bad? Let me know down in the comments below what you think. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, very interesting, good stuff, good channel. Follow him. His name is Eric Andre Jink. Very, very, very good. I came across him. Actually, brother Sanchez actually brought him, shared it, and I seen it. And then I went to his channel and watched a couple of other videos. Very good stuff. He's on it. I don't think that it's a deep spiritual, but for your safety and your rights and telling you what's going on, it was very, very good, and appreciate that. Even go give him a like and a watch and follow him. Get some more information, because we can give information in other areas, but we know what it's for. If you don't, I have to give you that side look, like, what do you know? But what do I know? Yeah. Not trying to, like you said, fear monger. Just be on your P's and Q's, man. Stuff's going down. They do something to always distract us. Things are being done to distract. I liked how we seen Biden actually put this agenda in when he was a president to go forth. That Biden already did, so that means it's on the books. RFK can tell me all he wants about it, but he's been telling us a lot of truth through everything in the medical field and all this stuff, but doesn't mean he's on your side. For some reason, they feel to tell us, but they also think we're sheep, and they could tell us in our lap, and then they'll laugh at us by openly doing stuff because they think we're stupid and we're just sheep and sheeple. They do. They are afraid of the wake up. That's why there's so much on division and divide and conquer mentality. And if this is a simulation and this is the lower level of existence, like almost like the underworld, right? Then this makes sense, because it seems to be that them in power through time and times again, that the unrighteous run the reality. Gnosticism, and even in the canonized versions, even uses the term the God of this world, right? And then some of the stuff that I did recently about the sacrificing of blood and the children and the animals, just the reality of the stuff with the blood magic and stuff and all this, and the interconnecting of it and doing the certain aspects seems to be part of what goes on here as we wake up to our senses of who we are. Just be aware, people. I mean, my heart goes out to people, because many will be deceived. And how long can we even fight something that may hinge on on certain things? You're going to have to be strong. And some people will not be strong enough, with children, certain women. And if you just don't know, and you just go with the flow because this is what you need to do, and you have no knowledge, this is what will come with it. But you guys have a great day. I just wanted to share that. We'll be following up some other stuff here really soon. Definitely get on some building ourselves again, like the last video is, but had to go there and had to go into some other stuff. But even the stuff I was talking about, what's going on in Europe, is definitely happening. Look that up. Go out of the gate of regular news, because that's just props. That's just good acting schools. I mean, that's all they do is you will get more information from movies and TVs and series that are occultically telling you what they're doing, if you understand that you have to decode this reality. But you guys have a great day. I love you. Appreciate you. If you D-Boy West Coast Uncensored Cash App, if you could give, I definitely would appreciate it. And wish many, many building blessings upon everybody here, and an ear to hear, because we need it more than ever. So, because deception will even come at those who hear, by just following for one thing, two things can knock you off track. So just be aware and be definitely on your top notch with your discernment, and do the inner work on yourself, opening up an activation of yourself into the next level in love and creativity of the power we have. If we knew the power we have and woke up to it, they would fold like the folding chair. But keeping us dumb and keeping us divided is their only game in power. But this is pushing things to the next level of control, and we got to be aware. So you guys have a great day.